Madorule colo lângă izvor. Mă dorule tu. Să beau apă să nu mă usur de dor. Mă dorule tu. Și apoi după ce destul oi fi băut. Mă dorule tu. Uită-mă de parcă nici nu mai știut. Mă dorule tu.
Come on! Windass waits and Johnson scores!
Massaba's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassama finds Masaba.
Now Bannon. Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Tie-Dye podcast. I'm James Mappin. This is the debate show, the show where we give you the chance to come up and speak about Sheffield Wednesday. We're going to be live for around about 90 minutes until 9:30 this evening. So make sure you can join us for the full show. If you can't or you want to listen back, then do head over to patreon.com/WTID pod. You can listen to the full replay of this show over on Patreon. There is a 7-day free trial as well. So don't make sure you do get your hands on that as well. Let's what we're going to talk about this evening. Lots to talk about. Talk about yesterday's performance. Obviously, we just fell at the final hurdle. You know, what did you make to that performance? Obviously, it ended 1-1 on the night, and then penalties, losing 5-4, some cracking penalties as well. We can talk about, all the changes that we made. And, I thought we gave an excellent account of ourselves. Do you agree with that? Maybe you have a different viewpoint. Do come up and let us know what you think. Like I said, only Max Lowe and Anthony Masaba kept the place with all those changes that was being made, from that side that beat Portsmouth on Friday. What did you make to that lineup? A lot of people seemed pretty annoyed at the number of changes that were made. If you were looking at the official Twitter post when the lineup came out, obviously in hindsight, it's great to look at that, but at the time, a lot of people thought it was going to be a cricket score yesterday. Do come up and have your say. Do press that request to talk button, and I'll bring you up. We can also talk about Akinfenmewo's injury. If you listened to Danny after the game, he said that it's going to be months, not weeks, that he's going to be facing on the sidelines following that injury that he picked up during the win on Friday. How much of a blow is that one going to be? Who's going to be stepping into that left centre-half role now where he's going to be absent for quite some time? I suppose it does make the decision not to bring in another centre-back. All the more of a mistake, I guess. Also, Watford at the weekend. We can also look ahead to that game. They're great at home, shite at away, but that's them, not us. And thankfully, this one is at Hillsborough. We're yet to beat Watford in our last 7 meetings, 4 defeats and 3 draws. Hopefully that's going to change this weekend. The last 2 at Hillsborough have ended in draws, and I hope this weekend is a little better than this fixture was last time around. An awful 0-0 draw. I don't blame you if you can't remember it. However, a certain Ben Hamer was in goal for Watford that day. If there's anything else that you want to talk about, do come up and have your say. You can get involved on Twitter, get involved on YouTube, or you can come up and speak on Twitter Spaces as well. That's what you can do this evening. I just want to give a shout out to all the new members as well on Patreon over this past week. Is really appreciated. Everyone that's supporting the podcast, and you can do exactly the same and sign up on Patreon as well. Right, let's who have we got? We've got Peter, we've got Cherie, they want to speak as well. Let's come to Peter first. Peter, how are you going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks, James. Absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, I mean, last night was there was a lot of changes, but great performance. And did you expect that first and foremost?
No, I didn't. I was at I was at the game with Sups last night actually, and we both said, I can see he's listening. We both said at the start of the game, we both said I'd take a 3-0 now and walk away and be very happy. When we saw the starting lineup and we saw how many changes there were, which I wasn't surprised at all. So obviously the league's far more important. I was expecting 2-3-0, and unlike any other ground I've been to ever in my life, in 50 years of watching football, directly above your heads there were these TV screens, so everybody kept, and they were virtually in real time. So we kept looking at me and Subs kept looking up at the clock saying 1 minute gone, 2 minute gone, because Brentford are really are notorious for scoring goals very quickly.
Yeah, I tweeted that actually. I said we've managed 3 minutes without conceding a goal, which is more for any Premier League side.
Me and Sups were on the clock. We were doing it every minute, and when it got to like 8-9 minutes, we were like well away with it.
Do you know what, I have to admit, I was just tweeting about we've got to the 10-minute mark, and I didn't get time to actually hit send, and thankfully I didn't really, because I would have had egg on my face a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think all round, all things considered, the side he picked, the fact that, you know, out of that side on Saturday you're gonna have Beadle, Valeri, certainly Shea Charles, Barry Bannon. That's 4. There's a good chance Valentin will play. That'll be 5, and others as well. Probably I can't see any of the started. Well, maybe Gassama may start. I can't see Ugbo Masaba starting. I think you're going to see at least 7 changes again on Saturday. But I just think all round, everything considered, that will go down come next May as one of the performances of the season. That may sound a bit outlandish at this stage, but I just think everything considered, the expectations we had last night, we knew the side was going to pick a weakened team. We were never going to go full strength. The fact that they'd gone the opposite, and the guy who played on the right hand side, Mbueno, is a real box of tricks, and he's 50, 60, 70 million quid's worth there easily. But the shining light for me, well, several shining lights, but one that stood out like a beacon was Pierce Charles. And I said to Subs that I think last night alone, he potentially could have put £5 million on his transfer fee, because he's going to leave us one day. And we all know that goalkeeping is a position where, you know, the big boys will pay big top dollars for, and we could deal with Beadle going elsewhere, or Beadle being taken back by Brighton in January. We'll stick Pierce Charles in for the last 6 months, and we'll get him up to 20, 25 million. Happy days.
Yeah, he looked great. He didn't look out of place at all, did he?
Absolutely not at all. I mean,
he made some fantastic saves. I think he was ever so unlucky with a goal. I thought,
yeah.
I'm not going to lie. When the lad ran through, I thought 1-0. You know, 1-on-1. I thought, you know, most Premier League strikers don't miss. I know. I think he'd not scored yet this season or since he's come to Brentford. But obviously at the time you don't really know that. And I just thought, yeah, it's 1-0 here. But yeah, when he saved it, and then for it to cannon off Otugbeo the way that it did, I thought, literally, are we ever going to get a slice of luck? So it was unfortunate for him, but it was a great save. I think he made a couple of other good saves. All right, you know, a little foot. There was one that was smashed in from outside the box that he kind of shoveled back into the danger area, I guess. But look, he stopped the shot, which is the first and foremost, and he looked accomplished. And
I was impressed throughout the team last night. They were all fighting. They were obviously all fighting for the cause, and I think that was Max Lowe's best performance in a Wednesday shirt last night. And Marvin Johnson looked, dare I say it, for a man of his age, looked absolutely electric again, and looked well up for it. And the young lad, Otugbeo, who looked like a rabbit in the headlights out in Austria, and you know, when we first saw him, looks a completely different player. And hats off to him. for all the naysayers and the negative Normans and the doom and gloom merchants that follow our football team, that were one up the jacksie for them last night because there's no way you could criticise that performance at all. It was, for me, it was absolutely. I think we'll look back at that in May and think, wow, what a performance that was.
The only thing I would say, I know you say you can't criticise. I'm not going to criticise it. The only thing I would say is that I suppose in the first half we didn't have. I mean, there was a few glimpses. Masaba didn't get his head up, which he should have done, and he perhaps would have found either Iofa or Gassama on a few occasions. But there were very few attempts of us kind of going forward. So whilst it was a great performance, I feel like up until the goal, we didn't really threaten them. Which I'm not taking anything away from the performance. I just think sometimes when you've just got one job, which is kind of defend and get your shape and everything, it does make it a little bit easier. Having said that, I think some Premier League sides have probably done that against Brentford and got picked off. So
I mean, the ball that was played through for the goal came from it wasn't even a second ball. It was a flick on, and within a millisecond, he'd knocked it over the top.
Yeah,
and the kid's gone through and scored. And yes, he was very unlucky that it's back. Charles was unlucky the fact that it's come back and it's bounced off our defender into the path of him tapping, and it's 1-0. But I think other than that, it wasn't nothing overly stressful. Yes, they had a lot of possession. I think it was something like 76-24% in the first half, but we weren't ever in a situation of biting his nails, thinking, God, this is going to be after the first. Even when they scored, they were never looked like they were going to get 6, 7, 8. It wasn't going to be a cricket score.
And that was my worry. My worry was that it was going to be like that.
Too.
And I think we had a game plan. I think the game plan was to be in it at half time. And when you're only 1-0 down, you're more than in it, aren't you? Really? So I think that was kind of, yes, we'd have loved to be 0-0 or even a goal to the good or whatever. But I think being 0-0 was part of it. Being within a goal was his plan, because obviously when we went a goal down, we didn't panic or anything like that. We just kind of carried on doing what we were doing and frustrated Brentford. A lot of balls going straight through to Pierce Charles, and I think. I think his genuine plan was to bring the cavalry on, which he did. But I think he didn't expect us to be 1-1 at that point. I think that was the point where we were going to have a go at it and try and get that equaliser. As it happened, I mean, what a strike from Gassama, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I mean. I said about his goal at Coventry. The goal at Coventry absolutely rocketed into the back of the net, and yesterday from an even tighter and an angle that was a lot further out, he's done it again. And maybe me and Subs were both saying we can't. In the first half, we couldn't get Gassama or Masaba into the game. On the odd times we got the ball, there was a situation in the first half quite early on where Patterson had the ball. He played the ball through, and Masaba stood offside, and it was a perfectly. I think it might have been 15, 20 minutes in. It might have even been just before they scored, actually.
Mate, I was absolutely fuming at that. It's one of my... Look, I'm no good at football, but, I mean, they said, don't they, when you're looking along the line and you can see every other defender, they're the ones that are going to be, playing onside or offside. It's a cardinal sin to be offside in that situation. Yeah. And do you know what? It happens a few times with Masaba. It really, really frustrates me. I just think you can't be doing it.
And I keep saying it week in, week out, and I said it again last night. How long is it before we get to a situation where you have to say they're not kids anymore? Because Masaba's played, 40, 50 games for this, plus where he's played elsewhere.
Yeah, and he's not young. I think people forget how, I think Ante Masaba, he's 23. He'll be 24 in a month's time. So he's not. We can take that his young tag off Anthony Masaba straight away. Gassama is a little bit younger. He's 21, I want to say. 21. Yeah, he was 21 in September. So yeah, you could probably still say he's a little bit younger, but or you can still give him that young tag. But even so, like you've just said there. They've played over 40 odd games. Like there needs to be a point where we can't just say, oh, they're still learning and everything else. And yeah, there's a reason why they play for Sheffield Wednesday at the end of the day.
Of course there is, yeah. And it's not like he's a Caramarchi when we know that he is learning the game. But there's going to have to come a time where we think, well, we've had him now for 2 years, and I'm not saying for 1 minute get rid and all that kind of thing. My point I'm trying to say is it's going to come a time when we have to say, he really ought to be doing better in those situations.
Peter, I saw a comment yesterday, and I fully agree. Is there a time where we just realise that perhaps Masaba and Gassama aren't as good as what we first thought? Because they do show glimpses and things, but I think it's difficult because Gassama scored a great goal against Coventry, scored a great goal against Brentford. That's probably just helping him slightly. But Danny was quick to tell us that after the game how he wasn't happy with the front three in the first half. He said they were too far away from each other. They weren't playing as a cohesive unit. And yeah, he wasn't asked that question. He kind of, I think Alex Miller kind of pointed that out as well. He actually wanted to say that. He wasn't probed on it. He wanted to tell people that he wasn't happy with that first half performance.
Yeah. I think that the other one I wanted to mention was Sean Fazer. He's had a couple of games where he's just about lasted the first half, and I think that's just on pure physicality because he seems to be quite light, and he's not. Maybe he is in some years. In years to come, he'll be the natural Bannon replacement because of the position he plays. But I think he's still a long way to go, and he's a little bit lightweight in the position he plays because he's always liable to come against or come across or meet up with some big strapping midfielder, and especially in the Premier League. I just think last night for me it was an outstanding performance all round from the team. The fans never stopped singing all night, and we sensed it straight away, and we got onto it, and give them a real good backing all the way. I mean, it's a cracking little ground. It's surprising where they've moved the ground to. It's a beautiful area. It really is. I mean, it only holds 17,000, but it's a quality stadium, and it is what it is, and it's in a nice part of London. It's not like a Charlton or a Crystal Palace in the dregs of the city. It's other than the M1 being shut on the way back, it was a good night.
The only thing that makes me laugh about that stadium, though, it's almost like they couldn't find anywhere to put it because it's like, you see, is it Exeter is another one that's like that. We've got the train tracks behind it, and the stand has to finish kind of 3/4 of the way down the side because they can't physically get there's no space for it. I think this is similar. They've built it around the roads and stuff. Whereas surely if you're building a brand new stadium, I mean, I suppose in London, space is a premium.
The club's owner, he owns all the land around it, and he built all the because there's lots of swanky apartments around it, and he was going to build 2 more apartments. He was going to have a larger stadium with a larger capacity, and he decided not to, and put up two new tower blocks of these swanky £200,000 apartments, and by doing that, he paid for the entire stadium because there's tower blocks around all the ground. You literally have to walk down steps and steps to get into the ground. It's almost below. I won't say sea level. That's stupid, but it's almost underground, if you know what I mean. And you walk up and then you drop down some steps to get into the ground.
One of my pet hates, though, is stadiums with multicoloured seats to make it look like there's more people in than there actually is.
We said that. Yeah, we said at the start there's nobody here, and there's lots of empty seats, but they're still filled up. They must have all been downstairs on the.
They must have all been under sea level, Peter.
Say again.
They must have all been under sea level.
Yeah. You can clip that and play that later, can't you?
No worries. Peter, do stick around, mate. Do appreciate it. I'm going to bring Sups on in a second. I'm just going to read a few comments out as well. Stuart said, listening to Radio 5 Live last night, Jonathan Pearce seemed confident that a few Prem teams will be knocking on Pearce Charles's door in the not too distant future. James has said, best defensive performance all over the pitch. We were never overawed or overran. We made a reasonable Premier League team look ordinary. We've also got one from Richard. Masaba is the equivalent of a bowl of cornflakes in a hotel breakfast. Yeah, I keep saying it, speedboat, no driver, and it's not proving me otherwise at the moment. Kelly said, thought we did bloody awesome against the Prem side, holding them off, did us proud, and so did the away fans. Could hear them all night. Absolutely amazing. James has also gone on to say, our new number one next season, comfortable with the ball at his feet and great distribution too. John 8 is for the better. We went out, but in style. Concentrate on the league. Top 8 at Christmas. Top 6 at the end of the season. Sups, how are you going, mate? You all right?
Hi, James. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I got a little bit of altitude sickness coming out of the stadium, but I'm all right now.
Yes, it is difficult, isn't it? Climbing up from sea level at the GTEC. But yeah, Sups, what did you make of that performance yesterday? Peter thinks that we'll be looking back on that, at the end of the season as one of the better ones.
Yeah, I think it was number one, really enjoyable, and number two, it was outstanding. Really, the second half.
So is that down to expectation though? Is that because your expectation going into that game was low, especially after you'd seen the starting lineup, or is that just on merit of the performance, itself?
In my opinion, it's on merit, and I'll tell you why. Because for a start, none of our best 5 players were on the pitch at the start. And I'm going to say Beadle, Bannon, Shea Charles, Famewo, who was obviously injured, and Windass. Windass came off the bench, so none of our best 5 players were playing. They had regular starters on the pitch. They had Flecken and Burmo. They had Keane Lewis Potter. They had Vitali Janel. They had Vandenberg, who's come back in the Premier League side, and they had Wisser and Damgard come off the bench. They had a strong Premier League team facing us last night, and I know we're going to have to soak up some pressure. Of course we are. This is a very, very decent established Premier League team we're up against, and so the first half didn't really surprise me. But I think one of the differences I've noticed with watching Wednesday now is it is a 90-minute game, and we have to kind of judge it at the end, because Danny Roll. He's so good as an actual game manager. Look at the difference in the last 2 second halves against Portsmouth, and then last night. Whatever he's seeing, and however he's getting his message across at half time, it's clearly working, because I am talking about the 90 minutes, but if we looked at the second half yesterday, we outshot them 7-3. I think there was one stage where I said to Peter's young lad, we're all over these, and this is a Premier League team. They couldn't get out. They couldn't match our intensity.
I felt that was when we got the goal, and then our tails were up. Obviously, you lot in the away end were in fine voice, but obviously after the goal, it went up an octave and more vociferous, if you know what I mean. And I think after that, the players responded, and they were trying to play out from the back, and we kept picking it up. They were playing 2-3 passes, and then they were it were a stray pass, and we were onto them. And yeah, they found it. I think they found it quite difficult. Really, they couldn't contend with us really, which is mad, because you'd think it'd be the other way around. But they were obviously sticking to their principles and things. But they clearly didn't like it when we got up and in the faces, and yeah, it would kind of play into our hands a little bit, because I think also as well, after we went a goal up, I think Gassama were actually supposed to be coming off before he scored, or just before he scored. I know he stayed on for a little bit after, but I feel like that instruction to up the intensity was coming pretty soon, after that goal anyway. So it kind of, I think it was, the goal, an increased intensity, and the fact that you have scored a goal just kind of worked. And And yeah, I mean, you're right. Seven shots to their 3 in the second half. In the whole of the second half, that is as well. Which, we were. I think someone made a point in the Discord. I think it was Elliot saying it's like a low end Prem game in the way that like the game was going on a overall balance. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I'd like to think that Danny's done his own work. And said that Brentford don't dominate the ball in Premier League matches, so they're going to be out their comfort zone a bit. They're going to have a lot of the ball, and we're going to say, "All right, do something with it." and then when it's our turn to have the ball, we're going to hit you at pace, and we're going to do it with intensity all over the pitch. And it really worked. It was such an enjoyable second half because obviously we were playing really well. I mean, Marvin Johnson, that's a Premier League quality performance last night from him. I mean, he is getting better with age. That was a proper follow me lads performance last night. The way that he kind of took control of the game, the way he played against some of their attackers. I saw some tweets saying he had Mbermo in his pocket. Well, it wasn't quite like that, but he did play him very, very well.
Do you know what he did as well? His tracking back was decent. I think it's not really something that he gets pulled up on, really, but I feel like he wants to go forward rather than go back, and he didn't shy away from that last night. I feel like everyone understood their assignment yesterday. Do you know what I mean? It was obviously it was defend first, attack second, especially in the first half, but still, like I said, Brentford have blown teams away this season in the Premier League, and we've come along, and it didn't really faze us, to be honest. And I was just so annoyed in the kind of just how unlucky we were to concede that goal, to be honest. I know people have said Otugbeo were on his heels a little bit, and everyone else played him offside and he hesitated a little bit, but again, he's his man, and he's that Sharda's not exactly the slowest kid in the world, is he? So he's got a bit of pace about him, so I think I'd be trying to keep with him, but it is what it is. And I think it was just unlucky that in the manner that it just came off him and rolled straight into the guy's path, really. It was. I mean, what did you think at that point, Subs? 1-0 down after, 10, 11 minutes. Did you think that the floodgates were going to open, or were you confident that it was going to be how it panned out?
Yeah, I didn't really get that feeling that the floodgates were going to open because it didn't look like Brentford were fully intent on all out attack, or didn't look like they were 100% up for the game. I mean, if you looked at the two teams, it was definitely us who had the edge in energy and kind of commitment and all the rest of it. The stuff that we had to show really to make up for the lack of quality. But it was a relief to get into half time only 1-0 down for definite. But what the thing that surprised me was just, or the thing that it reminded me of, was how enjoyable it is to watch your team put in a performance like that when even when the end result doesn't go your way. I mean, at the end of the day, we went out the cup, albeit on penalties, but really there was absolutely nothing but positive come out. The only kind of downside I would come out with is just the realization now. For me, I've seen enough to know I don't think we can start Anthony Masaba in away games. I don't think it works away from home. I mean, he may get the start at Hillsborough. I understand that, but away from home, it's just not working for him.
What do you think it is, Subs? Because I feel like he's getting worse. Like, last season he finished as the leading goal scorer. I felt like both him and Gassama, this was their season. I thought they were going to really kick on, and they were going to be the two players that we could could offload for big money, and we'd be be staving away bids for him in January, and perhaps let him go at the end of the season. I honestly thought those two under Danny Röhl would flourish, and I feel like they just haven't. All right, Masaba's, he's showing glimpses. Gassama's got a couple of goals, but I think on the whole, like I said, I feel like they've not really kicked on, and they've been a bit stagnant this season so far.
I've been quite happy with Masaba's impact when he's come off the bench in the second half against fatigued defenders, and he's really been a nuisance, and he's made a difference in a couple of games. Gassama, I know we do kind of throw them both in the same bracket, but it was noticeable last night. I think was it Marv or was it Max Lowe played a ball into Masaba, and it wasn't the offside one, it was another one where the ball needed to be in front of him because he hasn't got feet as good as Gassama, who can get the ball from under him, and he can still come out of a couple of tackles with the ball. Masaba doesn't have that. If the ball's not in front of him and he's got to run onto it, he can't sort his feet out in time. And if there is a defender near him, then the defender's going to come away with a ball, because it happens 100% of the time with Masaba. I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to be proved wrong, but Gassama definitely looks more unpredictable. He looks like he's going to have more of an impact when he's got the ball. He definitely drives forward with more purpose, and Masaba just seems to have a bit of lethargy about him. He's not that kind of bag of energy that Gassama is.
I think Masaba's massively a confidence player. I think you can say that about every footballer, they're all confidence players, but I feel like if a few decisions don't really go his way, he's just got that demeanour about him that just looks like he's, finding it difficult in the games. And I think, Masaba, Gassama, you can throw Jamal Lowe in there as well. They've all played similar number of minutes so far this season, and I think Danny's still trying to suss out who the one is that he needs to go with, or the one that he trusts more than the other. Because, like I said, they've all played similar number of minutes. But again, when we were signing these players in the summer, I was looking, thinking, great squad depth. We've got plenty of players in these positions, especially in attacking areas. We can bring players off the bench, and they can really terrorise the defence, and we're not, that intensity is not going to drop or anything like that. But then now I'm looking, and I know you've mentioned, Masaba does look, bright when he does come off the bench, and I think was it Coventry, weren't it, where he set up the goal for Shea Charles. But yeah, it's just I think there's a few. When I do like the speak to fans of other clubs on their shows, and they always ask players to watch and stuff, I find it difficult because I feel like no one's really shining other than Shea Charles, who I think he's starting to look a little bit tired. Hopefully this rest this week's going to help him. But other than Shea Charles, there's no one else. And obviously we talk about Barry Bannon every single year, so that's just sounding like a bit of a stuck record. There's nobody else that's really shining and actually saying to Danny Röhl, I should play every single week, really. But I suppose when they come together as a team like they did yesterday and put in those performances, it's all good.
Yeah, across the front, you're right. I mean, up front, I mean, with Kabatsky being out, we probably are going to see a bit more of Masaba, even though we've got our reservations about him. But the other thing I
on that subs, I do want him to do well. By the way, I feel it sounds like I'm bashing him, but no. I want every Sheffield Wednesday player to score as many goals as they possibly can. But I'm just saying what I see with my own two eyes, and James has just said it in the comments on YouTube. Masaba, Gassama, and Ugbo flattered to deceive, and it's because we see them signs of potential. We're not gonna we're not going to expect Callum Patterson to do the similar sort of things to what Gassama and Masaba and Ugbo can do, because he's not got that same level of skill set. It's because we've seen it before, haven't we, Subs? We've seen what they can do, and you just want them to perform at that level week in, week out, and it's just not quite there yet.
But it's a bit like the first half, second half thing, where Danny Roll he gets them in at half time, and he sees what he sees and he changes it, and we come out with different purpose in the second half. I think it's a little bit different. Everybody stick with us. If we have a bad first half or things aren't clicking, this manager, he's going to change things. He's not going to sit there, Gareth Southgate, and just watch the game drift. He's not going to do that. We'll judge it at the end of 90 minutes. So, don't be booing a crap first half. Boo the referee by all means, but not the lads, because this is different. We're gonna get some periods where it's really difficult. We have to soak up pressure. We're not playing too well. It's disjointed. Masaba, Ugbo, they're not firing on all cylinders. But throughout this season, I'm confident they'll contribute, and I'm confident that when we're going through tough times, difficult patches, that we've got the right man in that dressing room to tell them exactly what they need to hear.
Yeah, 100%. Subs, massive thanks for coming on, mate. Do appreciate it. Peter's got his hand up, so I'll quickly go to Peter, and then I'll bring Cherie up, and then I'll bring Ted up as well. Peter, go on, mate.
I totally forgot to mention how good was Liam Palmer when he came on last night.
Yeah, it was. He just... all the subs that came on, I thought made a difference yesterday, Peter.
Yeah.
And it was just a shame, weren't it, what happened at the end with it being Palmer missing the penalty. But yeah,
it's one of them things. Didn't expect to win, so it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter, but it doesn't matter because everybody's forgotten about Io for missing his penalty at Southampton. Although obviously I haven't, so I've just brought it up.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was just a shame, it was a little bit of a blot on his performance, but still he's got to stand up there and want to take it, hasn't he, really? I thought he did. He did great. Peter, I'm going to move on. Let's bring Cherie up. I'm just going to read a few comments out before I do that. Let's have a look. James has said Pato made Cadamartri better when played alongside him, and then also with Danny never has the old adage of a game of two halves rang truer. Yes, I do agree with that one. Just a reminder, if you want to come up and have your say, do press that request to talk button over on Twitter Spaces. And let's talk about last night's game. We can even look ahead to Watford. Talk about anything you want Sheffield Wednesday related. So yeah, do come up. That's exactly what Cherie's done as well. Cherie, how are you? All right.
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks, James. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. Yesterday I didn't expect. I'll be perfectly honest. I didn't expect us to take Brentford to penalties, especially when they went 1-0 up. I did think it were going to be, floodgates would open. But yeah, what did you make to yesterday's performance, Cherie?
To quite frankly be honest with you, I weren't happy with the first half performance, but the second half I was really impressed with it.
Yeah, Djiedi Gassama's got a habit of scoring goals from outside the box, and you could say Sheffield Wednesday got a habit of scoring goals from outside the box. If you want to take Fridays in that as well, What did you make to Gassama's goal? It was a great strike, wasn't it?
It was a great strike, but not as good as Michael Smith against Portsmouth.
Yeah, Cherie, how many times have you watched that goal?
Oh, I've lost count.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a cracking strike. I didn't even realise that Michael Smith had that in his locker, to be honest. I suppose with the Gassama goal, you think, well, he did it against Hull. He scored that goal against Coventry. All right, that was inside the 18-yard box on that occasion. But still, everyone stood off him, didn't they, Cherie? Just invited him to have a shot.
Yeah, and Bannon told him, don't shoot.
Oh, you mean for Smith's goal on Friday?
Yeah.
I was about to say that. I thought Smith wasn't playing last night, but yeah, for Friday's goal against Portsmouth. To be fair, I was also shouting at the TV screen, telling him not to shoot as well. So clearly didn't listen.
I didn't actually know we scored the second goal because I went to the toilet and I heard Trina, I'm like, hold on, have we scored? And then saw the replay, I'm like, what the bloody hell?
So you're saying you even missed that goal in real time?
Yeah, and I didn't even realise, but luckily I saw the replay.
Well, you say you saw it. You've like you mentioned, you've clearly watched it quite a few times. Sure, I thought the players gave a great account of himself yesterday. 9 changes, a lot of I won't say new faces because obviously we've seen them all before, but young lads, Fishera, Otagbeo that came in, Pierce Charles as well. They've. I think they really did us proud last night. And even though we've not got through to the next round, which is probably a blessing in disguise in terms of the games and that are coming up and everything, it was a great performance, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought that was lovely at the end, where they're trying to name Palmer as one of our own. Yeah,
because, I mean, look, I've never been in a situation like that. Never will I be in a situation where you're taking a penalty, in front of all those fans. It was sudden death at that point. Miss and we're out. And do you know what? It wasn't even a bad penalty. I don't think. I think it's always difficult with a penalty shootout because when a keeper makes a save, is it a bad penalty or is it a good save or is it just they've gone the right way? And I felt like their keeper just guessed the right way. Do you know what? If he'd dived the opposite way, we'd all been waxing lyrical about Liam Palmer taking penalties. As it happens, he's dived the right way. He's got his hand to it, and we're out of the cup. It's sod's law now, though, Sheree, that Brentford are going to be drawn up against, a Liverpool or someone like that. A team that we want to play. I'm going to say Tottenham Hotspur, but I don't even know if they're still in it or not. I've not been paying that much attention. Sheree, what else do you want to talk about?
Watford game.
Yeah, they're coming to Hillsborough on Saturday. Their away form, Sheree, is absolutely awful. I think they've won one game.
Oh, right.
One game away from home, and that was at the start of the season against I want to say Millwall 3-2. One win, 5 defeats in their 6 away games so far this season. So, yeah, stark contrast to the home form, which I think they're unbeaten at home. 1 draw, 5 wins. Right. Yeah, it's that's why they're up there in 7th at the moment. But yeah, their away form is awful.
Oh, right, okay.
Does that make it? It sounds like you were surprised at that. Does that mean you're a bit more optimistic about Saturday?
Yeah, I've got a feeling that we're going to win on Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be great. Obviously, we have got a big game on the horizon, which we'll not talk about it just yet. But
talking about that, I am really, really nervous for that.
Already, we've got another week and a half yet until that one comes around.
Right, I'm dating a Sheffield United fan.
Well, I think you need to knock that on the head straight away, Sheree. We can't be having any of that. That's diabolical.
It's banter.
Yeah, of course. Look, there's quite a few, partners out there that have got that divide. The Steel City divide, which I can't imagine what that would be like. To be fair, but yeah, we'll talk about that next week. Sure, we've got loads of stuff coming up next week as we look ahead to that game. Go on.
I thought Patterson had a really good game last night.
He did. I mean, Kelly's just tweeted saying, highlight of my night was when the camera panned to Pato and all you heard him say was, I'm fucking knackered after that awesome tackle. I saw another tweet from someone.
Really
what was that, Sheree?
It makes a really good tackle.
Yeah, it was fantastic. That I also saw someone tweet saying, who's that number 14? Looks like a 40-odd-year-old Sunday League striker, which made me laugh.
And when Michael Smith came on as well, I shouted to TV, "Oh, here he comes, Mr. Wonder Kid."
Yeah, he couldn't quite replicate what happened on Friday, could he? But I'm sure he'll be.
because that for me is Championship goal of the month.
you could argue it could be goal of the season as well, Sheree, to be fair. Sheree, is there anything else you want to talk about before I move on to Ted?
I'm just looking forward to Saturday's game.
Yeah, as we all are, getting back to Hillsborough, it's always nice after
Well, I'm going to be there on Saturday anyway.
Great stuff. I know you missed the last game, didn't you? Is that right?
Yeah, family event.
Yeah, so it'd be good to have you back, Sheree. Sheree, massive thanks for joining us as always.
Thank
Do
you,
really
James.
appreciate it. Reminder, you can get involved. Press that request to talk button over on Twitter Spaces, and I will bring you up. Let's speak to Ted. Ted, how you going, mate? You all right?
I'm okay, Joe. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine, Ted. You've got this down to a T now, Ted. You're an absolute pro.
Well, I found this other button I've got now.
All right.
There's two on that phone of mine. By the way, talking about play, they're beating City, right? Just gone 2-0 up against Man City.
There we go. I was, I should have known that because I did hear him talking about that on the radio earlier on. But that Man United game looks decent. 4-2 at half time. That's not bad, is it? Anyway, we're not here to talk about Carabao Cup. We're out of that cup.
Game last night, like you said, as soon as I saw team sheets, I thought this looks like 5 or 6 note written all over it, this one.
Yeah.
But they scored early. They was like really unlucky, weren't they? But I tell you what, I was really impressed with them. I mean, if you play a game you send like a decent level, you could see how they were determined and it was drilled into them how to set that back 5 up.
Yeah, it was the shape, weren't it? It was just...
Yeah, brilliant, honestly.
Yeah, and
really.
Yeah, I mean, Ted, do you think there was anyone that played last night that could have staked a claim for perhaps starting in the league? I know that Peter was saying that it's probably going to be another 7 or 8 changes and kind of reverting back to that side that started against Portsmouth. Obviously, I know that Akinfenwa are injured, but he thinks we are going to revert back. But yeah, is there anyone else? Is there anyone that would say be knocking on Danny's door?
On that bench, at least on bench. Fuzira. I thought every cup game I've seen him in, he's been brilliant, that kid. I know he deserves to go on bench and give him a little 10 minutes, but he hasn't. He's like being outcasted, hasn't he? And that big Brazilian lad, what do they call him?
Otagbeo.
Man. Last time I saw him for under 21s, he was like a brand new newborn baby giraffe. Big gangly legs and that, with ball at his feet. Honestly, it looks ever so clumsy, but I tell you what, he's turned into a really good player, isn't he?
Do you know what it were with him? I think there were some occasions where it looked like the striker got the better of him, but it was his positioning, and it was kind of he was in a the shot would go wide, but if the shot was on target, he would have got a block in. If you know what I mean, he's almost forcing him into hitting it wide just by where he was.
Did he an experienced bloke outside of him, really? And he got Iofa, hadn't he? I don't think Iofa's a talker, is he? And when he come on, Bernard, he's only a young kid, he said, really. So it's not.
Yeah.
You need somebody who's going to be vocal in a back 4, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And Joe, what?
Fabio does that. Ekwa does. How long's he out for, by the way? Michael Ekwa.
I'm not too sure. I've not heard much on that one, but yeah, we are.
He's an organizer. He's not as skillful as Bernard, we know, but he just does his job. He heads everything, kicks everything. He's one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
My man at match last night was Marvin Johnson. Best I've seen him play if I went into that. To say we're up against their best player, one of the best players in Premier, isn't it? That Bueno.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, not so much out of his pocket, but it got better of him, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it were, it weren't too tight to him. He kind of showed him that little respect that he needed to show him, but quite often.
He said with pace, Marvin.
Yeah, he didn't, and Buemo didn't really get the better of him, did he? He kind of forced him to go inside quite a lot. Showing him into where the rest of the midfielders were, where Fashira were, where Ingleson were.
Yeah, manned him, didn't it? Really.
Yeah, and do you know what I think as well? When some people watch the game of football, the kind of fans I'm talking about can be quite naive about get to him, get stuck in, get a tackle in. If you go diving in against some of these players, they're just going to make you look daft and look silly. I mean, obviously yesterday, Premier League quality players, even in the Championship as well. And I think sometimes, you have to just realise what it is that they're trying to do. And like I said yesterday, if Johnson's going to show him inside, it's going to make it more difficult for him and showing him onto perhaps his weaker foot potentially and all that sort of stuff.
That Johnson bombed out wing a couple of times himself, didn't he? So, and to say he's not a natural defender, Marvin, he took some learning, I know. He come here as a winger and they've had to turn him into a wing back, haven't they?
Yeah, I thought you were going to break out into song then, Ted. I thought you were going to sing the Marvin Johnson song then, but you missed the perfect opportunity there. But yeah, I know what you mean. Do you think that heading into the game against Watford on Saturday, then it's Norwich on Tuesday as well? Do you think the performance yesterday will help him? I know obviously there were 9 changes, but still that kind of that confidence and camaraderie and everything does go through
Watford's
the full
another
team.
One, James, they won another one of our bogey teams, Watford. Okay, now when he was playing for them, John Barnes and other bunch were playing for him, centre forward. Every time it was like 4-0 every time we played him at Hillsborough and all.
Yeah, we've 7 games without a win against Watford, 4 defeats and 3 draws. Like I said, in his last 7, which is not ideal. It's not great, is it? It's total bogey side.
You're chucking away from home like that's just about put muckers at it, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair, we haven't scored against Watford in our last 4 meetings. It's been 2 0-0 draws at Hillsborough and 2 1-0 defeats at Vicarage Road. Like I said, you have to go back to 2013 when we last beat them. That was at Vicarage Road. Last time we beat them at Hillsborough was a 2-1 win back in 2010. Eddie Nolan and Luke Varney scored that day. And they
remember we pitched on there, Bonfair, didn't we? Like when they're going for promotion.
Well, that was back in.
W got an equaliser at last kick at me here, didn't he?
Yeah, that was 2015. Yeah.
Like that kid against West Brom, Mowat. Remember that goal he got? Bit like Dewey's that one against them at their place.
Yeah,
definitely. Last kick hit it into the ground, it bounced on keeper into it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was looking as well earlier. 2014 was when Watford beat us 3-0. That was their last win at Hillsborough. Their side that day, they had a certain Mr. Daniel Padil, Alman Abde, who actually scored that day, although we kind of like to forget about him. And then one of their 3 forwards was a certain Mr. Fernando Forestieri as well. Yeah. And they had Lewis McGugan on the bench. So, 4...
that Lewis McGugan, what a waste of a talent, that lad.
Yeah.
What happened to him? He just went out of the game, didn't he? He ended up at Northampton or somewhere and couldn't get an air side to finish him.
Yeah, I'm not too sure really where he went, to be honest. Yeah, Northampton and then just...
Yeah, well, at Northampton, I think that might have been his last club. And he didn't get in the air side, Brittler.
That goal always pops up, doesn't it? Did he score against, I want to say, Preston? Is that right? When he hit it from the halfway line.
Just his own half.
Yeah,
with Preston. They were coming on to us like a name. I think that made it about 4-2, that.
Yeah, that was a good goal that he scored.
He's bang lazy. I went, well, I watched him one game. I says, he was defending a corner on our goal line. He had a ball out and then sprinted length at pitch. And somebody crossed it and he volleyed it in net. I said, I won't say that was lazy myself.
James is commenting, Lufa Blissett, is that the one that you were on about, Ted?
That's the one, Blissett, yeah. Him and John Barnes, who said murderers, them two.
There we go.
Lufa,
yeah.
What last night, by the way, but where were he playing?
Pato.
I thought he started off at right back. You can't say he had a specific position.
No, I mean...
right back, you were on left wing, you were closing keeper down.
Yeah, I think right wing back was probably his position, that his official position, let's say. I'm just trying to have a look now at his heat map where he
started at right back.
Yeah, I'm just having a look now at his heat. Yeah, it was on the right hand side. Most of his touches came, in their attacking third. To be honest, on that right hand side. So. Yeah,
some debates about him today online. People saying he's got to start every game, and one kid pulling him down, saying, "Look, he's got no skill. We won't be a player, but we'll just give you 110%. We need better than that."
Do you know what? Yeah.
I can see both sides of the argument myself, Jay, because you need one of them type of players. You do.
Yeah, exactly. You need. I mean, it's a little bit different now. You can make 5 subs, but still, I think you need a Callum Patterson on your bench. He's versatile. He can play wherever he wants. Like you've just mentioned, he gives 110%. I think if you're going to bring him on, give him more than 3 minutes at the end of a game. I think bring him on with 80 minutes is probably the latest you want to bring him on. I think he was it Burnley where he made a little bit of a difference in that game.
Last night, though. Did United until last night? Played all game.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And to say he hadn't,
I thought you said he got knighted, and I thought Sir Callum Patterson. I mean, it probably would happen at some point. I won't put it past him, but no, he's
Scottish. He's Scottish.
Yeah, but yeah, you need someone in your squad like Callum Patterson, and yeah, I think he's one of those that. The answer to the problem is always someone that's that's not playing, and he's obviously the player that isn't playing at the moment. So everyone thinks, "Oh, put him on." It's Charlie McNeil was that one last week. I mean, he's still not had a chance, but he was that person that everyone was screaming and shouting about. But
Patterson, got to take your hat off to the kid. Like to say, I think he only started a couple of games all season. So it's nowhere near match fit. And he lasted, and he's still pulling his stripe out, weren't he? When he did that last satellite and on floor, and he won't ball again, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He didn't like him, that Frank, did he? He didn't like him at all.
Well, he's like that, but I think you need that person. You need that. Sometimes we're a bit too nice. I think as a club, as a group of players, you need that little bit of bite sometimes, and when it's. Either when it's not going your way.
Well, people really like playing against him. They lot like playing against him, Patterson.
Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if Callum Patterson suddenly started playing ice hockey. He's like one of them players that just comes on just as a fight, just to get crowd going. That's what it reminds me of like sometimes. I'm doing him a total disservice there because he's been great for us and he's scored some fantastic goals.
I like look, let's hurry up, have a go, James. Thanks for having me on, mate.
No problem, Ted. Thanks for coming up, mate. Do appreciate it. If anyone else wants to come up and have their say, do press that request to talk button over on Twitter Spaces and come and have your say. They've still got we can be here as long as you want, another half an hour or so if you want to come on. Kelly said 80s porn star is our Pato. There was another comment earlier. I'm trying to find it. Sky Mag said people moan about Smith and Pato, but you get 110% every time they put the shirt on. Got to use them more, especially Pato. He gets the whole team going. His work rate is through the roof. Where is this other message? Here we go. Wednesday is, this is from Richard. Wednesday is like a drunken shag. Start off strong, become weaker as we lose concentration, but finish with glory when we use our imagination. I thought you were just about to say limp and fall asleep because that's normally what happens. Peter, let's come back to you. Let's get your thoughts on Watford at the weekend then. The 7th, but as I was just talking about, their away form is absolutely dire, so we need to take advantage of that, don't we?
We do, and I think at the same time give our home form a bit of a boost. I think we need to go into the game with some confidence, and I think if we take anything out of last night, then I'm quietly confident we'll get something. Let's just hope it's not another after the Lord Mayor's show, so to speak. But I think you back your Charles Bannon, they've had a rest. Valeri's had a rest. I can't see them three not starting. I really can't, and he has to start Ugbo. Smith's absolutely thrown in. He'll be first name on team sheet. He'll be before Beadle, definitely.
You've just said two names there, Peter, Ugbo and Smith. Now I was thinking,
no, not Ugbo. You can't pick Ugbo, can he? Absolutely not.
I was about because I was saying though, it's funny you said that though, because the goal that Windass scored against Portsmouth, the one where Smith's knocked it down, my initial thought was that's a goal that Ugbo would have been scoring last season. But then me conundrum was, how the hell do you get Smith and Ugbo into a side that is playing a lot better, playing with a back, with three centre backs? Because I think you get it in. If you're going to play two up top, you can't really do that with three centre halves. You've got to go to a back four ideally, and we've not been looking. Yeah, I wouldn't really change the whole system again and go to a back four just to try and accommodate a bang out of form striker, if you know what I mean.
No, that's almost wasting. It's you risk upsetting, probably not upsetting Michael Smith, but the wrong phrase, or whoever drops out for him. They're going to get the hump, even though they might not say it publicly, but it would be unfair, and I think it's also slightly unfair on Ugbo as well, because maybe it's a few weeks on the subs bench for him, because at the end of the day, he's not a bad sub to bring on. I can't believe I'm saying that about a £2.5 million player.
Yeah, but he's not showing anything though, has he? So because let's be right. If Ugbo were playing on Friday and Ugbo had scored that goal from 30 odd yards or however far it was that Smith scored, we'd be saying the same about him, saying this is it, he's kicking on now. He's got his goal. Start him on Saturday. He's gonna, that's it now. Floodgates are open. He's gonna score 4 or 5 goals now, but he didn't. Do you know what I mean? It was Smith that got that goal, and that's why now we're saying, because we're clutching, aren't we? Really, we've got to when we haven't got any of them front three in form, when any of them score, we're just like, well, they've got to play in the next game. So I suppose it's got to be Windass and Smith, and then the question is, who plays in that other one? Because it was Masaba on Friday, but then Masaba had an awful first half yesterday. So
yeah.
Do you go with Gassama? Do you go with Jamal Lowe? I don't know who would you go with, Peter?
I would do Windass. I'd do the two up top, Windass and Smith, and Jamal Lowe comes on maybe first sub, and because Jamal Lowe, even though he's not been starting, he's looked keen, he's looked in. Well, the word is interested, and this is not. Some players are like this, and there's nobody more will look more disinterested than Malik Wilkes when he plays. But
he's found his level, Malik Wilkes. He's scoring goals at Rotherham. Yeah. So
I saw somebody put a comment on Facebook. Would you have him back? First letters N, second one's no. Not in a. I mean, you can see with the work rate that was put in last night, Malik Wilkes would get nowhere near that side. Absolutely nowhere near it.
Yeah, it'd stand out like a sore thumb, wouldn't it, to be honest?
Absolutely. Of course he would, yeah. And when a team's grafting like that and putting a shift in, it stands out even more. And you just can't carry anybody when it's like that. And that's certainly what happened. But back to the Ugbo situation, I just don't know where you go with it. Do you hope and pray that he gets one off his backside? Do you hope and pray that he gets a... You just want him to get any sort of goal, don't you?
Yeah, 100%, and I think he's going to have to get that off the bench, really. The fact that there's so many games in such quick succession, we've got another 3 now, haven't we? We play Saturday, Tuesday, and then it's Sunday, isn't it? The 3 games that we've got, so it's 8 days. That helps him a little bit in that we are going to rotate those players. I mentioned it before the Portsmouth game, 8 players. 8 different players in that front 3 over the previous 3 games, so that he's going to get a chance. He's not like it's not like in years gone by where you've got your best 11, and if you're not in form, that's it. You're not going to play. You've got to wait until a player gets injured or something like that. He's going to get a chance, but he's got to take that chance. And at the moment, he hasn't been taking them. He's been getting chances, but he's been missing them. And yeah, I think he's gonna have to take a chance off the bench, and if he does, then because at the moment Danny's got a bit of a headache because he ain't got a clue who to play up there, because nobody's really, like I mentioned, really taking it by the scruff of the neck. Like I said, Smith and a goal and assist. He's got himself that number 9 shirt.
Smith did okay when he came in last night. He got the penalty in the shootout. I think. I just don't think at the minute you can't not pick him. I just think he's I think it's his shirt to lose. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. Peter, cheers, mate. Do appreciate. We've got James, we've got Gavin that wants to speak as well. Richard just said Ugbo. Sorry, it's a Ugno. Bring him on when the oppo is tired, and to get some confidence. Yeah, exactly. That's what we've just been talking about. Then James, do you want to unmute yourself? How are you going, mate? You all right?
Not bad, thanks.
Yeah.
Go on. The Windass goal put against Portsmouth, it was like a throwback goal for me, like Chapman knocking it down for Verardi.
That's a little bit before my time, James, but I'll take your word for it. It was a great goal, and I don't know if that was something that was worked off on the training ground or anything like that. But the way that that Windass kind of arcs his run, I think he was actually looking for the pass, that initial pass from Bannon. Obviously, it goes to Smith, and it's absolutely on a plate for him, isn't it? Really, he couldn't really miss.
Not really, but I've seen them miss from there. I think we all have.
Sorry, which miss was that? You've seen them being missed. Yeah, you have. Yeah, it's a difficult chance, to be fair, and he does. He does well to keep it under the bar. James, what did you think to yesterday's performance? A lot of changes, but I said at full time, they did us proud, really.
Overall, I was quite impressed with the performance. The way we played in and out of possession was really impressive, and the press was cohesive for a change. We were going in 2s and 3s rather than just the odd one player, which in itself created more space for other players because of the press. You need to understand what the press is and how it's played, and when to press and when not to press, and who presses, and where your second wave comes. And I feel a lot of. I'm a qualified UEFA B coach, and I've done coaching at different levels. So it's very difficult to understand when and how to accommodate a press.
James, because you just said that there, obviously you're more qualified than the average punter that goes to Hillsborough, and certainly more qualified than the guy that sits behind me shouting "Get it forward" every 2 minutes. When you're watching Danny Rill, set his side up and the football that he's trying to play, does it excite you? And can you see all the different patterns that he's trying to implement? I guess
I can see and understand what he's trying to do, and it's the old phrase of round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes. He's trying to get the right fit and work in partnerships with players, and it's not just you can work at it on the training pitch, but it's actually in match situations where you see the real partnerships form, and you get to understand your players more from playing the matches rather than training pitch.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there was times last season where we came unstuck with that. It might have looked great on the training pitch, as you just mentioned, but there were certain games where they looked a little bit lost at times. But that only comes with time, doesn't it, as well? And we forget that Danny Rill's only been here just over a year now. It seems a lot longer, doesn't it?
I also wonder how much is lost in translation, and when it comes down the line, if Danny Rill wants to implement something, but he can't get his message across because his command of English is not as good as perhaps it could be, and he has to then go through Chris Powell or another coach to try and get that message across. How much is lost in translation, and then how much of that is then lost on the player that's trying to implement that message?
Yeah, that is a point. I think his English is fairly good, to be honest. But I suppose, when you're getting into the finer details of things, it's easier in your native tongue than it perhaps is in your second language. So yeah, I kind of get that point. Looking ahead to Saturday's game, then James, it's Watford that are coming to Hillsborough. I hope the game's a lot more exciting than the drab 0-0 affair that we had last season. However, I think we're both doing a little bit better than what we were last. When the two sides met last time. How do you think Danny's going to set the side up for the game on Saturday? Do you think you're going to see many changes?
Obviously, there will be some changes, but I can't see. It'll be first team regulars that come through rather than wholesale changes.
Yeah, do you think anyone from yesterday staked a claim for, I need to start? I mean, I'll just, run through the side that did start yesterday. With Charles in goal, they were Iofa, Otagbeo and Max Lowe, Patterson, Fischera, Ingleson and Johnson, Gassama, Musaba and Ugbo. It was only Musaba and Max Lowe that kept the place from the side that played on Friday against Portsmouth. I mean, I think Johnson has to kind of come back in, I suppose, doesn't he, really?
Johnson does, and I feel a little bit sorry for Ingleson because I do like him and I think he offers quite a lot. But it's trying to work him into the formation with Bannon and with Shea Charles.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the conundrum, and it's going to take a few attempts to get it and tweaks to get it just right. But with going back a little bit to the Ugbo situation, it's a shame we're not like we were years ago before academies came in, where you could have dropped Ugbo down to the reserves to let him bang a couple of goals in to get his confidence back up and then bring him back into the first team.
Yeah, I've said for a long time, that, I mean, when I've spoken to former players of that era where there was a reserve league, like it was a big thing, when they broke into the reserve side and they were playing with players that are either coming back from injury or players that were trying to break into the first team, and it was a decent level. It were competitive football, and it were men's football as well, and I mean that in the nicest sense, that the under 21s football, it's not the same. There's nothing riding on it. It's not as competitive, and I think sometimes players find a huge jump up to the senior football, which doesn't really help, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of former stalwarts that played in blue and white that came through the reserves. Your Sterlings, your Mark Smith, Charlie Williamson.
Yeah, there were loads that plied the trade there before breaking into that first team, and I think something needs to change.
It was a proper feeding ground rather than the under 21s, because I don't think players from first team that drop into the 21s gain anything from it, and it's more demoralising.
Yeah, you see a few, don't you? A few that mainly when they're coming back from injury, they play like one or two games, don't they? But yeah, if you're having a long stint in the under 21s, it's normally because you're not in the plans, and that's it, really, innit, to be fair. James, massive thanks for joining me. Do really appreciate it. I've seen all your comments over on YouTube as well, so I
thought I'd jump across.
Yes,
and because I could speak a bit better than I can type.
Definitely, yeah, and I do really appreciate that as always. Thanks for coming on, James.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Let's go to Gavin. Then Gavin wants to speak as well. Gavin, how are you going, mate? You all right?
Are we all right, Paul?
Yes, all good. What did you make to yesterday, Gavin?
I honestly think we did fantastic last night. We can proudly hold our heads up from last night.
What did you think after the lineup were announced then? Because there's a lot of people, a lot of people were thinking it were going to be a bit of a cricket score. A lot of people saying that, why have we got to this stage and then we've made wholesale changes? Why don't we want to progress to the next round? Rah, rah, rah. But what were your thoughts when you did see that we had made 9 changes?
I think after 9 changes and can still hold Brentford to a 1-1 draw, it's fine by me. They're no Man City, to be fair. It's like, yeah, they've been in Premiership now for what, 3 seasons, is it? So they're establishing themselves as a Premiership team. But if we've not even got our best 11 out and can still hold them to a 1-1 draw, obviously, we lost on penalties, but you can only hold your heads up high.
Yeah, no, I'll accept that I didn't expect it to be 1-1. When they got 1-0 up and how that first half went, I know that was probably the plan to stay in the game, but I just, I couldn't really see where we were going to, get back into it, but I was more of if they can keep it 1-0 and it finishes 1-0, we haven't disgraced ourselves and we can move on and we can just concentrate on the league, to be honest. So the fact that we did get a goal. It made it quite nervous. I'm not going to lie. I was thinking, oh Christ, we've got back to 1-1 here. Let's not throw it away. Let's not, a stupid mistake or anything like that. Let's keep it in here. But yeah, to take them to penalties, and then it's just a luck of the draw, isn't it? Well, I say luck of the draw. You still got to, hit a good penalty, and despite us not having one for 500 and whatever it is days, some of those penalties were fantastic, weren't they? To be honest.
Yeah, well, luckily for Wednesday, it's like we know how to win a penalty shootout when it actually matters.
I saw a stat, Gavin, and apparently we've lost out on penalties in the League Cup every single for the last 4 seasons. I think it was Huddersfield in one of them. That was like the first game of the season, weren't it? I think it was. Then I think we'd lost to who did we? Mansfield last one season.
Mansfield, yeah.
Obviously, we've lost to Brentford, and I can't for the life of me think who the other one was.
Right. I suppose you have to go way back to Wolves back in '90s, where Pressman.
No, it's the last 4 consecutive seasons that we've that we've done that. But anyway, we've last 4 occasions we've lost on penalty shootouts. Which, but we win the one that matters, don't we? Which is obviously League One playoffs and all that.
Where's Jack Hunt when you need him?
Yes, James. Yeah, exactly. That would. What did he say? Cool as an oven. Was his words, weren't they? Gavin, looking ahead to Saturday's game then against Watford, what's your thoughts ahead of that one?
I'm hoping that Michael Smith has earned his place in squad over the last couple of games. I think he's done really well because obviously. I think where it is, it's like with Michael Smith in it. It's like because he's played for Rotherham before us. He's like, and he's pretty much only played really like League One football. We're not really giving him a chance, but just give him a chance. And it's like if he can hit another worldie against Watford like he did against Portsmouth, then he's all right in that book.
Yeah, it was a fantastic strike, weren't it? Like I've been saying earlier, still keep having a cheeky little watch of that that goal and still thinking, how the hell has he done that? Absolutely great strike. And, pick that one out is kind of what you've been saying.
They were my words to a certain extent. Yeah, pick that one out.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a few times already. Watford aren't very good at away from home, certainly not this season anyway. Which you look at the league table, you see them in 7th, and you think it's going to be a tough game. But yeah, they I've just been talking to a Watford fan before I did this show, and they play the same style of football both home and away, and they perhaps have been a little bit naive away from home, and they've been coming unstuck, conceding some early goals. I think that what we need to do on Saturday is something we haven't been doing this season, really, is when we're having that bit of pressure, when we are on top in a game, we've just got to make it count, haven't we, really, and put those chances away.
Yeah, it's like we've seen it this season so many times where we've been on top for majority of game, and it just doesn't happen in front of goal, and then it's like we do get one, and then we just tend to just sit back again. It's like just keep going on again. Just keep giving it.
Gavin, George has got in the comments. He says, if we get a penalty and Smith isn't on the pitch, who do you pick to take it?
Bazza.
Would you? He's missed a few. I think has he missed his last 2? I want to say he's missed his last 2 penalties that he's had. I mean, judging on the ones that he had yesterday, Windass, Jamal Lowe, Johnson. I mean, Johnson's penalty was a fantastic penalty, weren't it?
Yeah, absolutely it were. But I don't know now. Do you trust Captain Sensible to take one, or would you get it to Windass?
Personally, I would give it to Windass. That would be my hunch. I thought he looked really calm when he took the one yesterday. I mean, you are just hoping that Michael Smith's on the pitch, aren't you? Really, because he just never misses a penalty, does he? His penalty taking speaks for itself. It's just a shame that we hadn't had one for such a long time.
Something days, or if 500 and something days, or since we played Peterborough in playoffs.
Yeah, or if you want to,
that's how long ago it really is. It's like, we had last season in Championship. It has been that long now, hasn't it? It's like Peterborough in playoffs were our last penalty.
Yeah, I'm just looking now. Barry Bannon, his last penalty he took was against Donny, and he scored. So he missed that one against Donny. Last one he scored was against Wigan, apparently back in 2022. And then before that, he missed one against Shrewsbury. Then he missed one against Bristol City as well. He's missed 3 of his last 4.
I take it back then. It's like not Bazza to take penalties. He can just score the worldies like he did against MK Dons. We'll let Josh Windass sort penalties out, or Michael Smith.
Fair enough. Finally, before we wrap things up, Gavin, obviously injury to Akinfenwa looks like he's going to be out for months, according to Danny Röhl. It is a huge shame that, innit, because I, for one, thought that he was, since we switched to that back 3 or back 5, whichever you want to look at it, I thought that he was probably one of the best players this season, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he will be missed, but I'm sure Danny's got a plan in place to combat that.
Yeah, it does look so innocuous as well, didn't it? The way that he went down, he sliced it out for a throw-in, and then as he went down, he was waving at the bench, weren't he? Which is always a sign that it's going to be. It's not a good one.
No,
it's just always. How many times do we see that happen? Though a player starts playing well, and then all of a sudden picks up an injury, and then the only saving grace, I guess, Gavin, is the fact that Dominic Ofer's now back fully fit. He's been on the bench for the past 3 or 4 games. We've not had to dip in and use him. Obviously, we had to do that against Portsmouth, but yeah, he looked. He came through. He came through the game on last night, pretty all right, and that's probably the only saving grace. But we don't want too many more injuries back there, do we? Because we are perhaps looking a little bit light.
We are a bit light in defence. Maybe this is something that Danny and his back team staff can look at in January.
Well, do you know what? They need to be looking now, don't they, really? They need to be, putting the feelers out there and trying to find some replacement.
I'm sure between now and January, he's going to be thinking of, where we can bolster the squad, and that's one area we've got to be looking at.
Yeah, definitely. Gavin, massive thanks for coming on the show. Do really appreciate it. We're going to wrap things up there. Huge thanks to everyone that's contributed on the show this evening. Ted, Gavin, James, Peter, Sups, Cherie as well, and everyone else who's got in the comments. Do appreciate it. If it's your first time listening or watching, reminder, we are back again next week. Next Wednesday, we'll be obviously reacting to the Norwich game, but I'm sure all the talk next week will be on the game at the weekend, the Steel City Derby, the first one in what feels like absolutely ages. I've got loads and loads of content for you next week. All the episodes that are usually behind the paywall will be free next week. We've got a couple of preview shows. This show as well will be available to listen back to. Extra time, everything next week. In the build up to the Steel City Derby will be able to be listened to. If you can't wait for that and you want to listen to all the extra episodes, then do head over to Patreon. Patreon.com/WTRD pod and get yourself signed up there. Again, thanks for everyone for joining me this evening, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.